Hello, got a completely different project for you today. Rather than my usual cards or boxes, I've got a notepad. I've bought a plain notebook. This one came from Sainsbury's. I'll show you what it looks like. So it's this. I can't remember what I paid for it. They're not overly expensive because they are basic notepads. Has it got a price on it there? No. So I don't know. Might have been £1.50. I wouldn't have spent a lot on it. I don't spend a lot on anything. And what I've done is I've decorated it. And this particular one, I've used the Festive Farmhouse Designer Series paper from the Autumn Winter Catalogue 2018. I've got some Old Olive cardstock. I've used Old Olive ink here, and I've used some more Old Olive because this is Old Olive that runs through here. I could have used cherry cobbler, which would have been quite nice as well. The thing I like about this paper, even though I've got a stamp set using a female figure, this paper's quite nice if you want to do something for the man in your life. I've used the Beautiful You stamp set, a firm favourite of lots and lots of crafters. I've never met anybody who doesn't like this stamp set. 3 lovely female images on there to use for different types of card. I've used this for birthdays. I've used it just to tell somebody I'm thinking of them, and some nice sentiments on there as well. So Beautiful You. And I've also used on this one, but not on the project that I'm going to show you, the Brushwork Alphabet stamp set to create these. But I've decided for the next project that I'm going to do, and the one that I'm going to show you, I'm going to use instead, and I've put it down, there it is. I'm going to use the Make a Difference stamp set. Really doesn't matter either way. It's just because I wanted to change the wording. So I'm creating a journal. So I've been talking a lot recently with my Stampin' Up teammates about the fact that I need to make some proper plans and some goals. And I think it's really important to have goals. It's the same in my work life as well, and I need to write those down so that I can actually work towards them. If you don't write them down, they really aren't proper goals. They're not there. So if you like to write things down, if you like lists, if you like to write your thoughts down, this is an ideal project for you. Or if you know somebody that likes to write things down. Everybody loves a list. Well, not everybody. I know lots of people that like lists, me included. So let me show you a different version of this. Just while I'm changing everything over, just want to share something with you. Had a conversation with my daughter last night on FaceTime. She doesn't live with us anymore. She spends a lot of time living with her boyfriend and his family, and I probably see her once a week. I don't see her all that often, and she will come over here normally to do her washing. And I had a conversation with her on FaceTime last night, and she said, "Oh, I was watching one of your videos last night, Mum." And I went, "Well, you're not really into craft, Phoebe. Why was you watching my videos?" And she said, "So I could hear your voice." And I thought, oh, that made me feel so bad, because I thought I clearly don't talk to her enough. So I'm going to say hello to her now. Hello, Phoebe, if you're listening. Got this lovely project here. Maybe you can have a go if you want to. She won't. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that because I just thought that was really, really sweet. So this is these are the materials that I'm going to be using. So I'm still going to stick with the Beautiful You stamp set. And I'm going to use this image, so the same one that I used for the other project. And I've got here Rich Razzleberry cardstock, and I've got that in 2 sizes. I've got that in 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. All measurements will be on my blog, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. I also have another piece that measures 5 3/4 inches by 4 inches. I have some of the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. Love that paper. I'm about to run out, which means I've got to buy some more. And that measures 5 1/2 inches by 8 inches. And then I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock as well, and that measures, what does it measure? 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. You also need a little bit of scrap of Whisper White, and also a bit of scrap of Rich Razzleberry. You don't have to use those. If you buy the Share What You Love designer series paper, you can also purchase the cardstock that goes with it, and it is all colour matched. So I think in that you get the Rich Razzleberry, the Mint Macaron, and there's something else which I've forgotten. I think it's Calypso Coral. So it's all colour matched for you. You don't have to choose. And you can make lots of these different things and just colour match them depending on who the person is that you're giving it to. So I'm not going to put anything onto my journal just yet. The first thing I want to do is get this, and I'm choosing to round off these corners. You don't have to do that. And if you didn't have a corner rounder, then you don't need to. So I'm just going to take each of my bits of card, and I'm going to use the envelope punch board. I've got some projects coming up using the envelope punch board. If you want to look out for those, hit the subscribe button. And I'm just going to use the reverse punch bit here, and I'm going to put those in there and just round off each of those corners. We also have a punch that has a corner round it on it as well, but I'm just using this for now. So I'm just going to round off all of those. Makes a bit of a noise. If ever I've got the dog sitting in here, normally at this point he gets up and clears off because he can't stand the noise. So they're all rounded, and we'll do this one as well. But this is optional to round them. If you don't have anything to round it, you don't need to do this. I think it just finishes it off. But you could round it yourself. You could put a small object that's round, you could put a small object that's round, draw around it and cut around that. Or you can just leave them with the sharp corners. At the end of the day, it's your project. You do what you want with it. Right, sorry, we'll finish that now. Get that out of the way. If you're wondering how I've trimmed all of my paper, I've used a paper trimmer. I can't get all of that in shot. So that trims and scores accurately, extremely accurately, to the 16th of an inch, which is really handy. Okay, so I'm going to take my two bigger bits of paper. I've got my Rich Razzleberry cardstock, 5 3/4 inches by 8 1/4, and I'm going to stick my designer series paper on top of that. I love this paper. I absolutely adore this paper. And look at what's on the back. So you could use, that would match Old Olive ink, which is what I've used there. Matches beautifully. It just ends up making you buy loads and loads of ink, but it does all match nicely. If you didn't want to feel that you had to buy lots of ink, then just buy the ink in black. Absolutely fine. And you can make several projects without having to purchase lots and lots of ink, although it is nice to have all the ink that matches. Right, I'm using, oh, it's glooping a bit. I'm using Tombow white wet glue, which does not want to behave itself. I would not normally put that on there, that gloopy. That is terrible. Need to sort that out. Wet glue works better with a project like this, and I'll show you why. If we put double-sided tape on that, as soon as you put it down on that, that's it. You can't move it. With this, very carefully turn it round, you can put it down and then just shift it very, very slightly to get it into position. You've got a couple of seconds to do that. It does grab quite quickly, but I've just shifted that across, and then I've got a nice even border all the way round. I'm not going to put that on my journal yet. I just want to make sure that I've got everything fitted there. So I'm just going to put that to one side, and I've got this smaller piece and my Whisper White, so I'm just going to put that to one side for now. I'm going to deal with this bit. So I've loaded up my stamp. So I've chosen the lady with the umbrella stamp, and I've loaded that up onto a block. Probably should have used a bigger block. Actually, there is my bigger block. Don't have to. Let's put that on there. This is a clear mount stamp, for those of you that haven't used stamps before. And the clear mounts give a really nice, precise finish. There's my ink, so using rich raspberry ink, so it all matches. Makes it look super professional when it all matches. And I'm just going to load up my stamp. Just put that ink to one side. So there's my card. I'm just going to lay that on there, and I want to put this image to the left hand bottom of the paper, or of the card. Stamp, and that gives a really lovely, just looks like I've hand drawn it. I don't tell anybody I've stamped that, they can think that I've hand drawn it. So we have that there like that. I also have, I'm not going to use it on this project, well, we'll just put a couple of dots on, but I also have these stamping blends, and I could, if I wanted to, I could colour some of that in, if I wanted to, and I'll just show you how these work. So you've got a brush end and a marker end. Now this is purely optional, but I could, if I wanted to, just colour that in like that. These work absolutely beautifully. I love these stamping blends, and now I've started this, I'm going to have to finish it because I don't want this half finished. But they do colour beautifully. So just talk amongst yourselves while I do this, because I see lots of YouTubers, they kind of speed up this bit. I don't know how to do that. Still on a bit of a learning curve with YouTube. But what I like about these brushed, the brush end of this, is that it gives a really nice even finish. You don't tend to see too many brush marks on it. You just colour very, very lightly. Don't need to put a lot of pressure on that. Right, so I'm going to leave that there before I ruin it. So she's got her umbrella coloured in. I could have coloured in a dress. I might colour in a dress. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. The next thing that I want to do is, I'm just going to put that to one side. And I've got some scrap. That's not Whisper White, that's very vanilla. I've put my scrap white, there it is. So I've just got a piece of scrap white. I don't throw too much paper away. Anything much smaller than that I probably would. And I have used, where have I put it? The Make a Difference stamp set. And what I've done is I've taken the letters, put them on a block. These are photopolymer and these are individual letters. And I've spelt out here my plans. So this is a book for somebody who likes to make lots of plans, whether it be holiday plans, wedding plans, work plans, business plans. Can't think of any other, decorating plans, home improvement plans, well, anything. I can't, exercise plans, can't think of anything else. Plenty going on there. And so I've just put those on there and straighten them out as best I can. Tested out the design a couple of times. I'm going to ink that up into the rich raspberry ink. So the photopolymer are quite different. So I can see through that. So I'm going to put, in fact, I'm going to do it that way round. You'll see why in a second. Doesn't have to be straight, and you'll see why in a minute, why I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter that it's going to be straight. So just fingers crossed that's going to stamp properly, because they are all individual pieces and I've got a few overlapping there. So I have tested this once. You can bet your life, because it's on camera. Whoops. There we go. That works. And now I'm going to use the, oh, I can't remember what it's called, Pretty Label Punch. And it looks like a cloud, and that's why I've used this, because it looks like a cloud. Because if we go back to this, This lady with her umbrella, she's thinking. She's walking along the road in the rain and she's thinking of her goals, all the things that she wants to achieve. And when she gets home, she's going to make herself a little journal and she's going to write them down. That's the type of thing I do, but I tend to write them down in a really tatty notebook. No excuse now. So I'm going to put that, there's my punch. I love punches, absolutely love them. I prefer them to dies. It's just easier to use, but dies can be a lot more intricate. So get that on there to the point that you're happy, and I'll sit there and fiddle with this for ages until I'm absolutely happy with it, but I'm just going to go for it in a minute. Now, oh, I hope that's right. Stamp that out like that, or punch it out rather. So there's my cloud. Now I can't put that on there like that because it just blends into the card. So I'm going to get my scrap rich razzleberry and let me show you what I'm going to do with this to give this card a bit of dimension. There's my bit of scrap rich razzleberry and I'm going to slot that into this punch, but only halfway down. Can you see that it is only halfway down? And get that as accurately as you can. It isn't difficult, I promise you it's not difficult to do this, so don't think, oh that's complicated, not going to do that. It isn't. If I can do it, you can do it. So I'm just going to punch that out, it goes flying, and I'm going to turn that around and I'm going to do that again. Punch that out, put that to one side. That bit of scrap I would throw away. I know there are some crafters that wouldn't. No, I can't be bothered with that. That's in my little scrap bin. So what I'm going to do next, there's the front of my journal, and I'm going to put some glue on this. Of course my glue is misbehaving, but I'm not going to use double-sided tape because you really need to have a little bit of a wiggle with this to make sure that it's in the right spot. I'm just going to clean off the top of that glue, and that might be why it's glooping a bit. Because there's plenty in here, it's not like it's running out. Right, I'll tell you why it's misbehaving. It's because it's on camera. It's just gone a bit camera shy. Don't need much at all. So I'm going to get that, turn it round, and actually I'm going to put this at the top. So I'm going to put that top right of that card. Now I would say, and the reason I'm saying this is because I made this mistake myself, when you're working with ink, look, it gets everywhere. As careful, it doesn't help that I've left the ink out. As careful as you are, you do get it on your hands. And I'd already made one of these and I had to ditch it because I'd transferred ink from my hands onto that. And this is very vanilla. Oh, try not to touch that. That's very vanilla cardstock, and the slightest mark is going to show up. You do need to be very careful with the ink. Just make sure that you close it when you finish with it. Make sure that you know, check your hands and what had happened. Look, that's it. That was the culprit. I chucked my thumb in it. So you do need to be careful. You get used to using them, as she says, who's covered in ink, but you do get used to using them. But it is important to keep the lid down all the time. It's very easy to go and stick your hands in it. Right, rambling on. Let's just get some glue on there. And I'm just going to put that down there like that, and it just leaves a gap. And all will be revealed in a moment. So I'm just going to push that on there like that. Just wait for it to grab. It does grab quite quickly, but it does give you a little bit of wiggle room just to ensure that you've got your punched shape in the right place. So now I'm going to take this, so this is my cloud, and it's going to sit like that. So it just gives a little bit of extra interest there. And what I'm going to do with that, now you could just stick that straight on with glue, it's absolutely fine. Or an alternative for you is to use these mini dimensionals. I love these. Every time I order, I always put dimensionals on my order because I just get through loads and loads of them. And if you've been watching previous videos of mine, you'll see that I use them a lot. I'll take the back off them. Now, when we're using something that's double-sided like this, when you stick it down, that's it. No wiggle. And if you try and take it off, it's likely to take half your project off with it. Oh, got it upside down. So what we need to do here, now I can't get my head over this to make sure it's central because you get a shot of my head right in front of the camera. But what we want to do is make sure that that sits right on that edge there, so you can't see that there's a gap in those two bits of cardstock. And then there we go. So we get our cloud, but we also get a border around it as well to give it some interest. You might want to distress this card, and maybe you might want to just daub some ink on the side of that with a sponge. That looks quite nice, or around the outside of that as well. If you had some embellishment, like some diamantes or some rhinestones, you could put those on there as well. You can do whatever you want with it. You could continue to colour that in, and I might do that. I don't know. There's my next bit of cardstock, and I want to put that on there like that. So back to my misbehaving glue. You can see is where I've been stamping earlier. Don't waste card. So I was just trying some stuff out earlier. So I've just used the back of it, or the other side of it. Okay. So final piece of, or almost final piece of sticking. So that's just going to sit on there like that, and just line it up. So it's just going to, in fact, I think I got that spot on first time, which is highly unusual. One last thing to do with that, I'm going to get my Stampin' Blend. You don't need to use Stampin' Blend. You could use a coloured felt tip, biro, anything, doesn't matter. If you're using the Stampin' Blend, you want the marker part of it. And I want this lady thinking. She's walking in the rain. She's having a think, thinking all sorts of things, making holiday plans, or maybe she wants to do some healthy eating. So she wants to write down some plans for meals. Anything, just can be absolutely anything. Then I want to put that onto here. So I'm going to get some more glue. Give that a bit of a shake. Maybe that's why it's misbehaving. That's better. Perhaps that's all it needed, was just a shake. So just run that around the edge, and a little bit in the middle. And carefully decide where you want to put this. I'm just going to go for the middle, but you could go near the top, you could go down to the corner. It's up to you, it's your project. Totally, totally your project. And you have got, look, I've got room to wiggle there. It's moving a bit. And there we go. There is the front of our journal. There's our journal like that, or notebook, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I rounded the corners on this as well, because they are rounded there. Okay, so just last piece of sticking, last bit of gluing. I think this is a project that children can do. You've got children that you're happy to use glue. You could supervise them while you do this, and this is something that you can make presents for aunties and grandparents, teachers. Great teacher gift for Christmas. This teacher gift thing has gone just balmy, absolutely balmy. I keep talking about this. If you've watched my videos, you've heard me moaning about teacher gifts. You know, I'm a teacher. I love it when I get gifts, but I just think the whole, and I don't expect them either. And I've been, you know, talking to people about, oh yeah, I buy a gift teacher at Christmas. It's like, why? Why do you do that? It's just such a lot of money to spend. But you know what? If somebody's gone that extra mile, maybe you do want to buy them something. Why not make them something? Why not make them a journal? Teachers love a list. Teachers have to plan. They have to plan. A lot of things that teachers, speaking as one myself, have to sort out during the year, and we do a lot of planning. This is ideal. Perfect teacher gift idea, and even better because you've made it yourself, or your child has made it with a bit of supervision. I hope you like that project. I was thinking about that this morning while I was sat in the hairdressers, and I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'll do that. The link to the blog is in the description box, and the link to my online shop. And if you want to see future projects, we've got the online extravaganza coming up soon. So if you want notifications of that, then please subscribe. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, all under the name of Taffy Crafting. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all again soon. Bye bye.